Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boring Enterprise Nerds show and tell episode. Our theme today is currently vaguely kind of in our minds as using AI in development. And since we're usually talking about SAP, this will be, of course, heavily SAP themed as well. I'm Elena Perfileva. With me, as always, my partner Paul Moderman. And we have super duper special guests joining us from the great state of Texas today is my colleague from Mindset, Abesh Bhattacharjee. I will let Abesh introduce himself in a minute, but Abesh is a fellow sufferer of complicated last name spelling, just like myself.
Eh,
so
See,
so
I
yeah.
make it easy for everyone. Just call me battery charger.
Battery charger. Yeah, I need to come up with something like this for my name. So thank you for framework, Abesh. But just tell us a few words about your like origin story.
Well, my name is Abesh Bhattacharjee. I've been working in and out of the SAP field more or less for the last around 22 years. Mostly around integration, used to do shop floor integration. Now, I guess I've moved to the top floor is what they call it. So, you know,
I like that.
integrations and, well, been dabbling a little bit in AI since the last 2.5 years. And I find it really, really fascinating and interesting. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
awesome,
all
awesome.
that's there.
Thank you so much for joining us, Abesh, and I'm sure Paul will share his dashy commentary on AI subject as always.
Yes.
But since we promised some SAP material, so I want to kind of take just a couple of minutes to put something kind of out of the way. Obviously, we're not going to talk about SAP Joule. Probably not going to talk about like basic ABAP and AI tools either. But I just wanted to provide an introduction to people who might be just joining out of curiosity to find out like what's going on in SAP ecosystem, or to those who are just trying to orient themselves like what's going on. So um, for the full disclosure, we had a very interesting roundtable at Mindset Company where Abesh and I working at, and it went very, very interestingly for me personally because on paper there was a lot of interest about Joule. We always do like a survey before people join, so a lot of interest on paper. However, when we joined the roundtable, there really wasn't any real interest. So it was just very, very, very funny to me. Um, all right. So again, I just want to get all the SAP and Joule business out of the way. I saw in very strange question yesterday on Reddit of all places. So people are apparently confused where the heck Joule fits with SAP AI. There is this diagram in the blog post by, I think, Michael Emmeling himself,
Mm.
which shows at least somewhat clearly where SAP Core sits and where all the Joule stuff sits with relationship to it, and how strangely SAP Build, all encompassing, is on top of it. So I think this is at least kind of clearly represents like what is what and what is where. So if anyone has any questions, I definitely encourage you to look at SAP's materials. And I found that I don't know why people post questions like, "Oh, I heard from someone." You don't need to rely on hearsay these days. You can go to actual SAP websites. You can find information there. I think that in many cases it's actually very clearly explained by SAP. Strangely enough, it wasn't always the case in the past, but in regards to like what is SAP iCore, what is SAP Jules, and all of these like different flavors, it honestly rather clear to me. So that's that. Any comments from you guys on Jewel? No, no, literally no one wants to talk about Jewel, but I thought it would
The
be
only
a
thing
nice. uh,
I missed the round table, and I was really sad because I wanted to come to that. Um, the
Yeah, what's up
it
with
is very
that?
interesting. It's very interesting that people would like they would write Jewel on the survey and then be like, yeah, yeah, blah blah blah, never
Yeah,
mind, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah. Moving on.
I don't know what that's about. I mean,
Yeah.
like I personally kind of like wink wink, I get it, but at the same
Mm.
time, why would you write it down? is my
Yeah.
only question, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the other thing.
Yeah, I think we in SAP world we are kind of trying to be like cautious about what we state because we cannot upset SAP too much because it's our bread and butter. You know, our life
Yeah.
depends on it quite literally. All right, so related, unrelated, there is just excellent documents that I wanted to share with you. We'll have a link in description. Lars Hwam put it together on and it sits on somewhere on GitHub. There is a link to it. What I found super duper useful about this is that it has the whole kind of explanation of all the different options that are available to ABAP developers. And Abesh will talk about his amazing setup, but I can say that realistically looking at the broad ecosystem, I think there is a large group of people who are over here and group of people where like Abesh and like-minded individuals sit there like can be over there, and there is a quite a bit of, it's not necessarily divide, it's just a distance to cross there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this document explains well like what are all the steps available to you to get as close to over there if that's what you're interested in, and what you can literally just go and try today. So if anyone is watching this and they're in position like I'm like super curious what Abesh has to say, but I have my job and I don't really have anything available there, what can I try, at least try to, somehow upskill myself, etc. This is great explanation of all the options. So, all right, so that is enough on that subject, and I think we can just dive right into what Abesh would like to share with us today. Abesh, over to you.
Take it away.
Yep.
On mute. So I don't have an awesome setup. I have a very basic setup, but I have mine set up as to like how I want to sort of or what basically I code in, you know.
This is actually what I love though about like the AI space right now with that is like it's so ergonomic to like your like
Yeah.
if you like the gaming chair with the drink holder and the whatever, like you can
Yeah.
make your AI
Yeah.
behave like that, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean,
Yeah.
it's awesome for you. So
Yeah. So
Exactly.
freaking go.
don't be
Yeah.
shy.
All right. Let me start sharing, awesome. So basically I've just started a new coding session with Cloud Code. A couple of things that I generally do. The first thing that I do is always put in a name, right? So basically so that I can know what I'm talking about. So let's
Mm.
call it uh, boring chat, right? So that's oh, did I not put the slash name? I think uh, arcs from unknown skill, and I failed already.
Oh.
Rename. See, that's my and yeah, boring
Is
chat.
this like
So
boring? It's
I
is this
am
like
like
is this like DOS commands? Because I remember to me this like C like colon and slash. That's all super familiar. Because before back in the days, kids, when we didn't have this nice SAP GUI and everything, you had to
and
actually type commands. And
And did
yeah,
you know you can change your color to purple as well? You can change your color to anything. So I always have multiple windows running. So I always put in because
A
I'm
color.
sometimes, yeah,
mm,
color and
Yeah.
a chat because sometimes I'm on autopilot. And if
mm,
things look too similar, I have had problems, right? So
mm,
before I go into my setup, there are a couple of things that I generally talk about that I do, and that's something that Claude recommends everyone to do once you have a code base running, which is basically Claude init, right? So what does Claude init do, or basically the slash init command, right? So what does that command do? That command basically goes through your code base, figures out what's there and gathers all of that knowledge and creates a Claude MD file in your project directory. So every time it's working on that project directory, it uses that Claude MD file on that as a base, right? So the point is, if you do an init when you don't have already some code in it, it's not going to do anything much. So though Claude says that init should be the first command you run, I generally say first you code, take it to a level, and then put the init command there so that the Claude has something to index, right? Other than that, my setup is pretty simple. So let's see what I'm connected to, right? So first of all, let's talk about MCP servers, right? So as you can see, there are quite a few MCP servers that are I'm connected to. So I have a couple of custom MCP servers connected. One is an MCP server for our integration suite. We'll take a look at that.
Mhm.
Another MCP server for getting the latest BTP documentation, right? And I use a third-party MCP server, which is sequential thinking, which basically forces Claude to think in a sequence, right? Other than that, because we use Claude, in our organization, there are a lot of organizational MCP connectors. And there are also a couple of NCP connectors via plugins. We are going to talk about those plugins. One of them is Chrome DevTool, right? We are going to talk about that. So what does Chrome DevTool do? Chrome DevTool MCP server basically gives your Claude code access and control over your Chrome browser, right? So it can basically see what is running. It can see the code. It can see all the debug messages, and it can do inline code injection. So that gives Claude basically eyes to see, right, like what your
Mm.
code is running. Other than that, I have an MCP server for both because I work a lot on Cap and Fury, right? So I have a MCP server for Cap and Fury tools, which basically, so Cap basically gives you the documentation as well as guidelines for cap-based applications, and Fury tools have a lot in them. I mean, they support syntax, checks for
Yeah.
deprecation, linting, and everything. So a lot of things there, right? But I don't think we've talked about MCP servers. So let's talk about what is MCP, right? So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, right? So it's a protocol which was most probably developed by OpenAI or Google. Who was it? I think it's
Anthropic.
Anthropic, right? Yeah, sorry, I totally missed the one that I
That's all
was
right.
supposed to call,
Yeah.
right? So Anthropic developed that, and that has sort of become the de facto standard. Google has something else, most probably an A2A or something, but uh, MCP has sort of become the de facto standards for agents or LLMs to talk to and, between each other and sort of like share information. I mean, not exactly between LLMs, but LLMs to talk to like a standardized protocol for an LLM to talk to a third party data provider, let's say. There are a lot of MCP servers. So MCP servers basically expose data from a system in a way an LLM can understand, right? And if you basically just look on the internet, there are like a lot of MCP servers that are available right now,
Yeah.
right? So what can MCP servers do? Let's take a quick look at that, right? I told you that I'm connected to the integration suite MCP server, right? So let me ask Claude about what MCP server. I mean, like check the last failed iFlow. iFlow, get me the error and possible resolution. Right. So let's see how this uh, works, though. Right. So basically, I told it that uh, you know uh, do this, and the first thing that it does is, as you see, it basically floats an agent, right? So I have defined multiple agents doing multiple kinds of stuff, right? And I mean, like, at a point we will talk about why exactly I have that. I mean, we'll talk about context poisoning as well, right? But what I have different agents defined here. So let's take a look at what this agent is doing in the background, right? So if I put controller something, so I think it's intercepting my, yeah. So as you see, this is what was the prompt that was sent to the agent, right? It said list, do all of this, report back concisely. This is what is needed, right? And you can see this is what is going on. The MCP server is basically doing this, right? So let's talk about this, right? Uh, okay, last fail iFlow, and it's already got what is required. Package, failed step, pattern. This isn't a one of all five recent error. This is what has happened, likely causes and recommended actions, right? So I didn't even have to log into my integration suite, right? I just issued a call. I just talked very normally to the LLM. It fetched what was the last, I mean, like what was the last thing that failed. It basically identified a pattern and basically told me all of that information in a way that a human can understand, right?
Yeah, I think that's an important point, Abesh, is that like when it comes to MCP or other or other kinds of tools, like it's it's the LLM's, it's Claude's job to decide to use the tool that is available, right? So you can sort of talk obliquely about stuff. You can kind of talk around it. There's no like keyword
Yeah.
that's like you must say integration underscore 924 to invoke the thing. You just got to be talking about the thing in general, and Claude will like kind of get it and go there, essentially.
100%. And
Yeah.
now basically let's take a look at how Claude does that, right? So that sort of brings me to, the context part. So if you see all of these, it shows you what my context is, right? So this sort of this gives you a quick idea about what is using my context, right? You can see there's a system prompt of 6.1 tokens. System tools is using quite a bit of tokens, and you can see all of the MCP tools. So MCP servers generally access tools, expose tools, which LLMs can call and basically get those. These tools are nothing but like remote functions. So MCP is nothing sort of like a remote function call, right? So you can see that these are all the MCP tools that are available, right? So how does uh, Claude know or any LLM know which MCP tools or which tools to call, rather, not MCP, which tools to call, right? So what it does is when Claude or any LLM is initialized and a prompt is sent, generally all of the tools and their definitions, like this is the name of the tool, this is what it's supposed to do, these are the input parameters it expects, these are the outputs it's going to give you. These are generally sent to all the LLMs. Now, depending on how many tools, how many MCP servers you have, this can be quite a lot. So the more the MCP servers, the more the tools, right? So why are these sent right at the beginning? So that the MCP server knows like these are my like tools or instruments that I can use, and this is what I can use it for. But you see a problem there, right? Like it can quickly fill up the context really fast, right? So what LLMs now do is they do what is called as a deferred loading or basically on demand loading. What the LLM is sent directly is only the names of the tools. Nothing else is sent. Like what does the tool do? What are the input parameters? What are the output parameters it needs? It does not send that. What happens is Claude automatically decide what tools it needs to load at runtime and thus effectively manages the context as well as whatever it needs to do, right? The other thing that I also wanted to sort of show you, you see I have quite a few agents here, right? So there's a Slack agent, there's a Google Workspace agent, there's a Salesforce agent, there's a Chrome agent. So why do I have this broken up into so many agents, right? And the one simple answer to that is to avoid context poisoning, right? So what is context poisoning? For example, I'm sort of building or I'm sort of basically writing like I've started this session. I'm building an application, right? And in that application, I need to debug. In that, it basically sort of needs to open a Chrome browser, run the code, take screenshots, analyze that, and that sort of gets added to the context. So the context fills up really fast, and like images and everything else, they have a lot of like pretty big sizes. So that fills up context really fast. But do we need that context? Do we need that information in the context while we are basically developing that application? It basically debug the issue, fix that issue. We don't need to continue having that context in our LLM, but that's exactly what happens if you just use that like LLM as like a chat interface, right? So that's why I have agents and I basically have instructions in my Claude MD to farm out tasks to agents. So what happens because of that, like when it's doing a debugging, it farms that out to a specific agent. Now that agent stores all the context and returns an answer. So what we get is the answer. We don't get all of the debugging logs. We don't get all of the screenshots, nothing. Just what exactly was required, right? Yeah, sorry. I rambled on for quite a bit there. I mean, like, got carried away a little bit about context and other stuff.
Yeah, so
Paul,
sorry, Besh, possibly stupid question. So you already mentioned, you actually kind of pre-answered my question, because when you showed all those MCP servers, I will be like, well, that's like lots of tokens, lots of data. It's like opening your kitchen drawer and unloading everything, like all the tools you have out of there, and then oh,
100.
here is my like special knife or a skillet or something, and then putting them back. But you said it's like it looks at the tools first, at the list first, but then decides. But
Right.
similarly with like agents, I mean, like in real life, I know that like Mary is in accounting, she does accounting, and Bob is in sales, he does sales. How do like these agents know who does what? Do you tell them, or like
No,
what's the
so
deal there?
basically, let me show you my Claude MD, right? So let me ask it, can you pull up? And that's the best part about working in Claude. I mean, like, if you're feeling lazy, just ask, you can ask it to do your job for him, right? My global
That sounds very
instructions,
lucrative.
instructions for agents uh, in my Claude MD. So let's see what it says.
So
Hey.
some CIOs are making notes right now.
Oh, by the way, you heard about that story, right? Like, there's one CEO who fired like their entire team of
Mm.
testers or someone to save 12 million, bought in a chatbot. The chatbot basically hallucinated a discount and ended up
Oh
losing
yeah,
$6 million.
famous one. Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, see, this is my context management. I have that written.
Mm.
Like, so delegate to sub-agents, say
Mm.
sub-agents when multi-round research tasks, open-ended code-based exploration, task fits in one paragraph with clear done criteria, multiple independent investigations, use running background. Do not delegate when implementing needing full conversation history, back and forth user input required, too small for delegation
Mm.
overhead to pay off. So it's very well crafted. And then you have the rules, and there's also routing table, like what you need to do, go there. Any sub agent, like image screenshot reads, you just float any sub
Mm.
agents.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, there's specialized sub agents there, right? So
Gotcha.
um, let's take a look at, let me see if I can bring that up, and let's take a look at my Claude directory, right? Let me share my
And they're
screen again.
even agent teams, so it's like
Mhm.
That's
it's
right now. So,
getting wild in there.
yep, I have it enabled. I haven't used it though. So let me share a little bit about, so if you see, this is my .cloud folder, right?
Mm.
And all the agent definitions are
Mm.
basically right.
Mm.
Let's take a look at, the repo scanner agent, right? So I'll
Mm-hmm.
open it with, okay, Notepad. The repo scanner. I'll pull it here so that you can see. And let me share my screen again with you, right? So if you see, its repo scanner tells you what it does, what are the tools it uses, what are the tools it can't use. And I
Mm-hmm.
use a smaller model. I use a Haiku. I don't need Opus for this. I don't need Sonnet for this, right? So to save a little bit on my usage and make it faster, I use Haiku,
Mm.
right? And this is what you do. You're a repository scanner, how you work, common tasks, what is the output format. That's it, right? And I basically created an agent. And I did not manually obviously write this. I asked Claude Code to create this agent for me, to be very honest with you. So that's the fun part, right? Like create an agent for me which does exactly this and then test it out, right? So yeah, so that's one. So those are the agents. The other thing is, as you can see, I will also show you my global Claude MD is right here. So it has quite a few things. You see, it has CAP conventions, it has UI5 conventions, it has integration suite APIs. It has what is the interact or some of the interaction rules that I have set. Like before responding, uh, like suggest follow-up questions. Don't be a cheerleader, because that's one of the major points. Actively disagree and push back. So it's pretty much there, right? Tool usage. Uh, Now I wanted to talk about LSP tools as well, right? So let me park that and see if we have time to talk about that. So currently what happens is, or let me just quickly talk about this here. So currently when a Claude goes through code, it does a grep or it does a cat, basically tries to read the entire file by itself, right? Microsoft in 2016 did something for VS Code called LSP. It's called Language Server Protocol. So this basically is a server which parses all the code. So LSP is what basically fed IntelliSense and all of that at one point of time, and sort of like corrections. So there are free LSP servers available, and these are like language specification, language servers. This has functions to directly, like if you it parses the code, and then you can call functions to directly get like definitions, where it's used, and a lot of other stuff, right? So basically you don't have to do a grep, thus saving you a lot of tokens that way as well, right? So Claude Code has a hidden setting called enable LSP. I don't remember the exact thing, so that has to be turned as one. But I also sometimes see that Claude needs specific guidance, even if it's mentioned here. It's called Claude still by default defaults to grep and cat, and you need to nudge him like use LSP more efficient, right? Context management, of course, delegate to sub agents. We already talked about that, right? And you see how all of these are getting delegated. Agent teams, I already have it configured, and basically, if it needs to do an agent team, it basically needs to do that, right? So yeah, so this is sort of my Claude code, right? Like that's my setup at a very, very high level, right?
Abesh, what was the magic moment for you that was the light bulb going on is like, ah, this is ready. I can use this now. This is better than garbage.
See, the
Was there a
thing
light
is,
bulb moment for you?
Uh, yes, sort of, I mean, like, I'll tell you, there was a very specific light bulb moment for me, actually, right? So I was working with you on a project that, we were using AI to develop a particular application. That
Hmm.
application, I'm a back-end developer. I
Hmm.
know back-end code. I don't know front-end code. So I did the entire back-end. I was done, and I reached out to my boss and I said, boss, I need a UI developer for 2 weeks. So my boss is amazing. He went back and he said, you know what? Unfortunately, we don't have a UI developer who's feel free for 2 weeks, right? And I was like, holy crap, what I'm going to do about this, right? And this was like 1.5 years back when like I don't know, was Claude Code there? Or I wasn't using Claude Code then. I mean, like, I have been very hesitant in picking up AI tools and basically giving them access. Like, I have
Hmm.
been running AI tools for a very long time, but I've always like had sort of like a sandbox or a jail around them, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't like it when it runs free,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So at
AI
that
jail.
point, AI jail, yeah. So what happened was like that was the only option that I had at that point of time. Like, let's figure this out. Like, if it can go ahead and basically create a UI, and the UI demands were not easy, like pretty complicated UI demands. To be honest with you, and you've seen that app, right? It's sort of like Claude sort of went ahead and did that in about like a week. And I was like, okay, this means I don't need to have UI5 skills right now. I mean, I can still read and 100% understand about
Yeah.
all UI5 code, right? So yeah, that also brings to a very interesting thing that, has been one of my observations. I feel that AI has made me a partly sort of like a better coder, in the sense that um, I understand what it I take and make an effort to understand exactly what it is doing, and that way sometimes I learn like better approaches.
Hmm.
But that's the thing though, like, AI is an augmentation tool, it's not a replacement tool. It's it's a tool. At the end of the day, the guy using the tool, at the end of the day, his skills matter. more than what that tool can do, you know. I mean, I can play an electric guitar, and David Gilmour can play an electric guitar, but there's a difference there, right?
Hmm.
Same
Hmm.
tool.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it's important that there should be something to be augmented because let's be honest, there are probably some developers whose skill is basically just say reading text of specification and then typing that on the keyboard, who don't really care about the craft or about elevating themselves or or the industry. And I'm beginning to think like Paul is more like doom and gloom on AI is gonna take everyone's jobs. But I'm kind of beginning to think that some jobs will definitely be taken, but for this exact reason, because basically, if you have a good base and you can use the tool effectively to get great results, I think you would be in much better position than someone who essentially does what tool does, and that's it.
100%.
Yeah.
But
So,
but I also encountered something that sort of scared me, Elena, and I'll tell
mm,
you this exactly. So basically, I ran out of usage once,
mm.
and that was like not a lot of code was left. It was one simple part of code. And Paul is laughing. Paul knows where I'm going with this, you know. And it was just like change that code, you know what it is, and you need to do a git check-in, right? And at that point of time, I literally had that conversation with me. Should I wait out the next 1.5 hours and let Claude do it, or should I just make that code change myself and basically check in? I was like pissed, like literally pissed when my usage got over, right?
Yeah.
So I deliberated for 30 minutes. 30 minutes before I said, okay, I'm done. I'm going to manually change the code and check it in. Right. So that's there. So if you are complacent, there's a very high chance that while working with AI tools, just because they're so good, if you don't keep yourself up to date,
Yeah,
you will get outdated very soon.
Did you
You will
guys
get
yeah.
complacent very
did you guys
soon.
ever see that video of like there's like a documentary guy who's talking about, you know, and the orangutans, they really like to use the tools. And there's this orangutan holding a hammer like upside down. And like the orangutan doesn't understand what the hammer and the nail are for. And like when I run out of tokens, that's how I feel about my code, right? It's like, what was this? What are you doing? I don't even know, you know? Like there is I don't know if danger is the right word, but there is an effect of that. Like I have to switch gears back to like, okay, I guess I could just type this code out like a caveman, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I
Uh,
like I I I haven't written ABAP code in months on months. Like yeah,
mm,
it's yeah.
Same here. I'm like, I've not written JavaScript code in a long time, right?
Yeah.
Hey, before we go though, there's a couple of things that I quickly wanted to share. You know, I wanted to
sure.
show them the marketplace and a little bit of
Oh
plugins
yeah,
that
yeah,
are very,
perfect.
very
Yeah, we have.
specific to,
Yeah.
let me see, where's my Cloud Code? Yeah. So back to Cloud Code again. I will obviously share a link, right? And show you a couple of the skills that I'm using and a couple of stuff, right? So let's talk about marketplaces and plugins, right? So marketplaces are somewhere you can install plugins, and Claude automatically comes with a marketplace, and there are thousands of other marketplaces on um I mean like on the internet. I mean, I have quite a few of this. So as you can see, I have a heart going on here, right? Like below Claude, which tells me what is my context, what is my usage. So that
Mhm.
comes from Claude Hard. It's a plugin, right? And I'll link to all of this, right? I already talked to you about Chrome DevTools, MCP. That is a plugin, right? That's a MCP server that runs on your machine and then basically connects to. So that's a plugin. I'll be sharing links to that. And the most important thing that I wanted to talk to you about, is the SAP Second Sky SAP Skills Marketplace, right?
Mm,
So I already have those marketplaces installed. So if you see, there is this SAP Skills Second Sky Marketplace. So let's go inside and see, browse the plugins and see what we have, right? There's a lot there. SAP ABAP, ABAP CDS, AI Core, and I have a couple installed, but there's a lot, right? and you can actually go inside. Wait, where did that go? Uh, I mean, like, I'll share the link with you. You can go into GitHub and basically actually check, right?
Mm,
Um, so you can see this is all I have installed, right? So these are all the skills that I have installed. I have the SAP UI5 linter, API styling, best practices, and when these get installed as skills, it becomes automatically available for Claude to use whenever develop something. So I have the SAP UI5 skills. I recently asked it, hey, go through my SAP UI5 applications with a linter and basically lint everything there, right? So it
mm,
basically figures out what it needs to do, what it needs to lint, right? The other very interesting has come up in recent, and I'm still experimenting with it, is I hope you guys know about Andre Karpathy, and he was the
mm,
one of the OpenAI. So uh, Andre Karpathy basically talked about how, I mean, like how he does development, or he talked about how he he has specific behavioral guidelines for LLMs or how it should work.
mm,
So there are quite a few, repos with that. One of them is this Forrest Chang, Andre Karpathy skills. I'm still testing them out, right? And something that might interest a lot of people, right?
mm.
So wanted to talk to you. I mean, wanted to show off a few of these skills, and there is a lot, right? And as I said, like you can basically go use the skills that you would need to set up Cloud Code exactly for you.
Skills are really kind of blowing up these days in terms of people kind of getting on board with it. This is something kind of how, a little while back, people kind of finally understood MCP and then kind of like climbed a ladder there. I think skills are just starting to hit that same ladder of like people are like, "Oh, I get it. Okay." So they're kind of becoming very fashionable right now.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is, you can create a skill very easily. So
Yeah.
the command is slash skill creator. So skill creator is actually a skill, right? So you can create a skill, and
It's skills all the way
basically,
down.
yeah, describe
Skilled
what you need.
multiverse.
Yeah, exactly. You just describe what you need, and Claude will create your skill for you.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right. So, yeah, we're right on time
We're
here.
right on time, guys.
Yeah,
Well done.
Right on
perfect.
time.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much, Abesh, for sharing your awesome setup created specifically for you. We will have additional links in the description because there is information coming up all the time.
Yeah.
We're finding stuff every day, and yeah, guys, just look at those. And again, go to the source of information. Don't trust hearsays. Don't trust LinkedIn of all places, of course. But trust us, because we do quote our sources, and you can find them easily and confirm what we're saying,
100%.
just in case. So as usual, please please like and subscribe, read our newsletter, subscribe to YouTube channel, follow us on social media, etc., etc. Really appreciate you joining us today, Abesh
Thank
and
you very
Paul,
much. Yeah.
and thank you so much, everyone, for watching us today. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.